Hey friends, this is Steven with Make It Rad. Today I'm going to be installing another upgrade on the Airstream, and this time it is the Micro-Aire Easy Touch Thermostat. This is Wi-Fi and Bluetooth enabled. We will have an app on our phone and it'll be a great upgrade for the Globetrotter. This particular model is the 355C, so this one will work with the Airstreams that are equipped with the Coleman AC units. For those of you with the Dometic, which is quite a few of the Airstreams, they do make a model for that specific one as well. So again, this one is for the mock AC units, but I know the installation will be pretty similar. So join me as we run through the install. So in the box we have the thermostat, this being the 355C model, so it might look a little bit different than the one you have depending on what AC unit you have. This has a plug harness and then one additional harness with some leads on it. There's also a fuse here, so that's good to know if this thing ever doesn't work for any reason that it could be that fuse. They make these in white and black. We just went with the black because it's going next to our other switch, which is also black. And Micro-Aire does provide you with screws, drywall anchors, and this little template. So these little plastic pieces you screw onto the wall, and this little piece perfectly spaces it out. You just break this off after you install it, and that way this just slides right on to that. You would just have that on the wall and you just go slide right on. They also provide you with some screw hole covers. That's all these are. This is a smaller thermostat than what's on our wall right now, so you could just put the screw in, put one of these over it to cover up the screw hole. I may or may not use these. To me, sometimes these stick out more than the actual little hole in the wall, and I could just, I don't know, maybe put some caulking in there or something to make it less noticeable. This has the harness, again, model 355C, so I'm not sure if I'm going to use this harness or not. It just depends on when I get back there. If I need to, if it's a direct wire, I'll plug this in and then direct into those wires, or maybe I'll just have that connector back there. So when we get into the wall, we'll be able to see what we're working with. And also a basic instruction manual. And that's about it. So for my install, I'm not going to be using this. I don't like putting screws in where I don't think they're needed, so I'm going to be using command strips. So I'll just put a couple of those. Well, at least that's the plan. I'll put a couple of those right on the back there, stick it up there, and that way, I guess if I ever need to get that fuse, it's pretty easy. And that way I'm not putting additional holes in the wall. If, you know, later I change it to something else, I'm not going to having to deal with having these all over the place. So, I mean, these are 20-pound strips, and this thing is like a few ounces. So I don't ever see that going anywhere, and I think that'll be a great solution. Without putting holes. So tools you might need for this installation is pretty simple. Phillips screwdriver is probably, well, that will absolutely be your one really required tool. You might want to have a little level handy for when you go to make your holes and also set the thermostat on the wall. Right now my camper's not level, it's in an unlevel spot, so if I set that level, then it would just look silly because obviously it wouldn't match the walls. So what I'm going to try to do is use this square off the side of the cabinet to just square a line out so I know when I'm sitting pretty level. The nice thing about using these command strips is if I get somewhere and it's not level, I can just pull it off, turn it a little bit, stick it back on there, and it'll be level. For those, I'm going to cut those command strips, so obviously scissors. And then I always recommend, if you're making any marks on the walls or anything like that, put some tape down, use the tape, put your marks on the tape. That way you're not accidentally, like, you know, making marks on your wall. And if you do anything, you just pull that tape. This is the painter's tape. It comes right off. And then it leaves no trace at the end, and everything's aligned right where it needs to be. On this particular Airstream, the thermostat is located here in the bedroom. This is the RV comfort thermostat. Again, if you have a Dometic unit, it'll be Dometic, and should be right here as well. It'll be a different shape. This one, the placement isn't that great. You've got the TV sort of covering the upper portion. So as we get started on the install, probably one of the first things we should do is move the TV, and then the wiring is actually accessible back here in this cabinet. So one of the first things I'll do here is pull off this cabinet door just to get it out of my way. Each one of these will have little gray tabs that are intended to hold the hinges from coming apart. Let's see if that'll focus there. There we go. You just pull those straight back, and that allows you to get to each tab at the back of the hinge. Just pull that out like that, out like that. You just pull on this tab right here, pull it forward, and those pop right out. And that gets that out of the way, and then I can get to the wiring back here. Let's also get this TV out of the way. So now you can see we have much easier access to this actual thermostat. So starting off, you can see this is the original thermostat. This is the rvcomfort.zc. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but basically this is the Coleman multi-zone thermostat. Pretty basic digital. Not a bad unit, but it doesn't have any of the smart features of the new one we will be installing. On the twin bed model, in this extra cabinet you have, it actually allows you to see the wire harness that comes through the back there. And then it comes over, across, and into this little black cover that covers up the wires. There's just 3 screws there, one at the top here, one at the top here, and one at the bottom there. So we'll go ahead and get those taken out. We'll open up the thermostat and we'll kind of see what kind of wiring job this is going to be. Stick with me. So with the TV moved and the door off of this little closet, I'll go ahead and I'll remove this cover. So with the cover in the closet removed, you can see the wiring harness that comes from over there and it's in these little wire loom and these clips in the closet, and then it comes right over here. This top area is the thermostat, and we have a plug that matches the thermostat back, the harness, and then there's also the separate harness. These two are for switches for the lights. You've got the main lighting and then you've got the accent lighting down here. I'm hoping that Airstream provided enough slack that I can just plug this directly in. It looks like it's close. This one I know will for sure work because at the back of the thermostat there were leads that would come off that would, or just like this, it would be long enough. But as you saw on the first picture, this would just hopefully plug right back in there. It looks like it's going to be close. Coming around this way, we've got the thermostat and it should just pop off. It's got clips. There we go. Okay, so this one's a little different. There's no plug on it, so hopefully we have enough leads that I can just plug and play. Otherwise we're going to be making let's see, there's like 9 different wires there I would be connecting up and making this sub harness, but hopefully we can luck out and I can pull that wire loom away a little bit and see if we've got enough leads. That's just a little tight right there. Let's pull this out. I guess we'll just pull this off. You can always go back on, right? Okay, that's off. So we've got our switches, and then we've got this entire piece for the thermostat. Let's see what we have as far as... Oh yeah, look at that. We got like a foot. So I was able to get a lot of slack out of the back of that cabinet. So if you're in that same scenario, just pull that wire loom off, give it a little tug, and see what happens there. There's more than enough to work with here after we put everything back. So I'll just go ahead and disconnect this thermostat. This leaves the plugs right here on the Airstream. And then I'll go ahead and also take out this backing plate for the old thermostat. So with that out of the way, we're ready to go ahead and start installing the new one. It's a bit smaller. It will cover up the main hole, which is good. It's not quite going to cover up both the upper and lower screws. So I'm just going to have to decide which screws or which screw hole to cover up. I think I'm going to go with the bottom one because the TV is right here and will come right over the top of this. And so this little screw hole here, I'll probably just leave there. I don't know. I might use one of those caps, but I'll probably just leave it and go ahead with the install just like that. I mentioned earlier my camper's not sitting level, so what I might end up doing is using a square off the side of this cabinet. Of course, everything in Airstream is curved, but probably something like that to make sure that it's straight. And then once I get the wiring done, I'll just use the command strips to click it right on there. So for this installation, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to be using the screws that came with the kit. I'm going to be using a couple command strips. I'm just going to fold these over so they're even on both sides and then cut them right down the middle. And then stick these together. I mean, if you've seen command strips done, I'm sure you know how to do this. So now we've got one for each side. I'm going to keep the pull tab on the cabinet. So eventually, if I ever need to pull it off there, you know how command strips work, you just pull that off. So I'll go ahead and get these stuck on here and get going with the final placement. I now have the command strip stuck on there, and I'll just go ahead and pull the backing off the cabinet side and get this right on there. You want to make sure you have everything plugged in, so you make sure that you have plenty of room for the harnesses and everything that goes back through. I'm just going to use this speed square to kind of go like that across the back of the cabinet and just eyeball about where I want it. And of course the Airstream cabinet's curved in the front, so we're trying to be just right about there. And the back of the thermostat is actually recessed a little bit, so having the two command strips and the Velcro in between it doesn't stick out at all. And I'll get you a close-up shot of that. But no, I think that works. That's going to work great. I don't think that's going to come off. If it does, I can always screw it back in. But I try to avoid putting screw holes in where possible. Really, all now that's left to do is get everything tucked back in this wire mold, get this cover placed back up on there, and we should be good to go. Alright, so installation is complete. Overall, pretty darn simple installation. Again, the only thing I changed was using command strips to hold the thermostat rather than putting in the screws, but I have to give Micro-Aire props. They do include that nice little template for the two screws that you need to put in. Here's a look at the thermostat itself. You can barely see that one screw up hole up there. I could use one of those button covers, I'm just not going to. I was able to cover up that bottom screw and overall the two holes. Again, twin bed model, so you've got this cabinet. I guess the biggest challenge with this one was fiddling with these wires back here. The old thermostat right down there, you can see, has leads that come off of it, so the connectors were tucked back in the wall. If you have a different layout, different floor plan, you might be able to just pull that thermostat out and pull those up. You might get lucky and have enough leads like I did. I think alternatively, if you didn't, kind of come up here, these are the parts I didn't use, obviously the hole covers, the screws, and the harness. So if you weren't able to get enough leads off of there, what you could do is cut these leads off of this thermostat. So leave these connected in your wall, cut them at the thermostat, so then you have the length you need, and then you would have to splice in line wires. These are color coded, so basically you would end up with a harness like this that you plug into the Airstream, and that you would plug into the thermostat. This extra one, the thermostat does have a lead coming off, so I think you'd be okay there. But overall, job well done, I'd say. Pretty easy. The huge advantage of this is it's Bluetooth and Wi-Fi enabled, so if you're traveling with a pet and leaving and that type of thing, you can control the temperature in your RV. You can download the app. The app is called Easy Touch RV, I believe, and you can just download it, and then once you have that, you can connect this to Wi-Fi if it's close, and you can also see over the internet what the temperature is inside, and you can actually control the temperature settings that way too. So both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, so you don't need the Wi-Fi if you're not obviously in a Wi-Fi coverage area. You can just use your Bluetooth when you're close by. So pretty neat little upgrade. In the case of this Globetrotter, it's actually a little better because the TV doesn't cover up the entire thermostat. And again, this is multi-zone for the Coleman. If you have a Dometic, I actually think it will be easier because the Dometic just has a simple little plug on the back, and that's that. So you don't have to mess with all the wiring like I had to here. But hope you all enjoyed it. If you like this content, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks so much. Take care.